Hi, my name is Austin Story. I'm a senior at the University of South Carolina. I'm a retail management major in the College of HRSM. In this past semester, I was employed by Enterprise Rent-A-Car as a spring sales and management trainee intern. A little bit about Enterprise. Enterprise is a rental car company located in over 90 countries with over 100,000 employees. Basically, to get this internship, I was looking around on LinkedIn. I had previously been in contact with a recruiter from Enterprise for a manager trainee up in Boston. So I had been looking around for an Enterprise opportunity to kind of get my foot in the door, just so I can progress a little quicker if I choose to embark on an Enterprise journey after graduation. So I was looking around on LinkedIn, found this opportunity here in Columbia, and I had an interview with the area manager who's no longer with the company. That was my first interview. My second interview was with the recruiting manager that kind of handles all the intern processes throughout the semester. And then my third interview was with the branch manager who I ended up working with at the branch that I was located at in Northeast Columbia. So it was a pretty straightforward interview process. All these interviews were conducted online due to COVID protocols. And then once I got the position, I had a branch visit back in December. It wasn't a whole lot of training purposes. The purpose of this branch visit was to just get to know my team, get to know the people I was going to be working with, and kind of go over a little bit of daily tasks, what I would be doing. But like I said, we didn't dive into a whole lot of training. That was not until basically early February. We did a lot of onboarding training over Zoom. And then once I started my first week, we basically had a checklist to go through of training purposes. Next, what I wish I knew going into this internship, I wish I knew a little bit more of the people side of the business. I've worked sales before. I've worked in that kind of retail environment. But with this company, I was tasked with adding on additional revenue to our tickets, writing rentals to people. And I'm not quite the pushy person that I probably should have been for this job. So that was a little bit hard for me, kind of formulating a sales pitch that would help me succeed in this business. It was something that I overcame, and we'll dive into that a little bit later. Next, a summary of my internship from week to week. I would say after the first week, there wasn't a whole lot of differentiation from week to week, just because with the big variety of tasks that I was given throughout the duration of the internship, I was given a lot of flexibility, and I wasn't just doing quite the same exact thing every day. So the first week, like I said, was a lot of training, and we received basically this internship booklet, and what it has in it. There's an onboarding section, and in the onboarding section, we have basically what we need to do with our branch manager, with any coworkers, to go over training purposes for each day. So this is days 1 and 2. Some of it includes just meeting some of the coworkers, going over mission statements, stopping at some of the body shops that we work with, just to formulate some good relationships. We got days 2 and 3. This includes a little bit more training, going over writing tickets, processing returns, driver safety. Then on the later days, we're getting into more training-based stuff. So after week 1, you kind of get put into your own situation. So writing tickets yourself, basically they're ready to let you kind of trial and error, figure out how to do stuff, because they can't handhold you the whole time. And of course, they're there to answer any questions you might have, and they welcomed any questions that I had and any help that I needed. So that was a big confidence boost for me, because I like learning by doing. So that definitely was right up my alley. And then next we had basically monthly roadmaps. Our monthly roadmaps were just quizzes, kind of testing our knowledge on what we've learned throughout the internship. And it's kind of the same deal. Month one was a little bit more broad, a little bit more questions about the company as a whole. And once we got into month 2 and 3, it was questions on a little bit of employee customer interactions, sales techniques, some of our numbers, questions like that. So those kind of, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of differentiation on what my tasks were in each week to week. I will say I was given a little bit more responsibility towards the later weeks. This could include, early on I'd be writing tickets, maybe answering phones. And then from later on, I would be doing writing tickets, answering phones, and then maybe doing returns, filing claims on any damaged vehicles, picking up customers from body shops, such like that. So it wasn't like I had certain tasks in week 1, 2, and then switch over and do something completely different. But I will say, given more opportunity and more responsibility, it was definitely, it was a challenge at first, but once they eased me into each new task, giving me time to adjust and manage my time, it was a breeze. So next, a reality of a dream job. And I like this question because going into my internship, I knew it was going to have at least what I want in terms of having a lot of tasks to do that will keep me on my feet, keep me busy, because I like doing that throughout the day. It makes time go by so much quicker. So what I would say to anyone thinking about what this picture of their dream job is in their head, don't go into a job thinking that it's exactly what you think it's going to be, because in my experience, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a race car driver, and that was my dream job. But of course, I have never been a race car driver. I don't know everything that job entails. So how could I go into that job knowing that it's exactly what I want to do? So, like I said, going into this job, I found a lot of things that I knew were going to be coming with the job, what I really liked. And then at the same time, I found a lot of aspects of the job that I didn't see right away, that I didn't think were going to be a part of the job. Kind of like we had a lot of downtime, a lot of role playing would go on during that downtime, just kind of like a secondary form of training and just keep our minds sharp, and just a lot of customer interactions. And I really enjoyed that. So that was my biggest takeaway from this job, in terms of kind of having this picture of a dream job in your head might not always be exactly how you think it will. So next, like I was saying about that workplace culture, having kind of the downtime be a training period, that was a big draw for me, and I didn't pick up on that right away. We didn't talk about it a whole lot in the interview process. They did say we are going to have a little bit of downtime. Not always people are renting cars. We had a lot of slow Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but when we're having downtime, we're using that time to kind of just, one, we're having fun. We're keeping the workplace a fun environment, somewhere where we all want to be, somewhere we all want to be motivated. We're using that time to basically train, a lot of role playing. So I would pretend to be a customer coming to rent a vehicle. We'll have another associate pretend to be selling to me, and vice versa. So this was fun for me because it kind of got rid of the stress of trying to sell to an actual customer on the lot that's actually renting a vehicle, to where I'm trying to sell to someone in a fun way, someone that I'm comfortable with, that will give me feedback on what I'm doing well, not doing well. So this was a big difference based on our school classroom culture, because one, a lot of my peers, when we have some downtime, one, we like to look at our phones. We like to relax, use our downtime as kind of a decompress period. And so that was a big difference that I noticed. Just being able to use downtime as a time that is, one, fun, but a learning experience. So while we're working, we're constantly working, even if it doesn't feel like work. And to me, that was a big draw to this job. And looking back on it, I'm very thankful for the time that I had, because I was there being productive, the whole time I was at work. So there was never a time where I felt like I wasn't contributing to the company and being a valuable asset to the branch that I was at. So that was a big difference between this and school. So next, the actual work that I did. So when I walk in the door, basically the first thing I would do is my callback stint. So basically callbacks are any of our outstanding contracts with rentals. So we have about 350 cars in our fleet at one time. And of course, not all of these cars are going to be on the lot. We had usually, I'd say about 10 cars max on the lot at one time. And this will kind of change with returns coming in, people renting cars. We usually sit at about 94% outstanding cars. So this means that 94% of our vehicles are off the lot, being rented, accumulating revenue for our branch. And so our callbacks, basically what we do that for is we have our customers' profile page, what car they're in, their return date, if they're a retail customer, if they're an insurance customer. And basically we take a look at that and we make sure they're up to date on payment. They know when their return date is, when their last day is, when their rewrite date is, if they need to rewrite their contract. We can get some information from them. We have their contact information. So basically, we just like to keep our books clean, make sure their balance is up to date, make sure they have their $300 deposit on file, and we make sure, run through everyone on our own callback stint. We do it alphabetically. Each person gets a few letters of the alphabet to take care of. And that's priority number one, because if we have a car that's been missing for a little while, we haven't heard from the customer that's supposed to be paying for it. That way we know as soon as possible we can get our damage recovery unit on it ASAP. After that, I'd usually be writing tickets to any customers that have reservations that day, any walk-ups, returning any vehicles, making sure customers are satisfied with their vehicle. And then after that, or throughout that, I'm answering the phones, contacting any customers that need to be contacted, just being the go-to person for anyone needing information based on their current rental, their reservation, and so on. And after that, throughout the day, since I'm the low intern, I'll go out and pick up cars from other locations if we need to. I'll go pick them up from the body shops when customers drop them off. So there's a lot of different variety of things that I'd be doing. I contact customers for their last day. This is insurance customers, so when insurance customers have their car in the shop, the insurance will usually pay for their rental, and then they'll be in contact with the body shop trying to figure out when their car is going to be done. We'll be in contact with them, and so when their last day is set for their insurance rental, that'll be the last day that the insurance company is not paying for their rental. So I'll contact the customer, let them know, so there's no confusion on when they'll start having to pay out of pocket if they need the vehicle for any longer. So that was just the basics of what I do on a day-to-day basis. Like I said, I would be getting more responsibility later on in the internship as opposed to in the beginning. They didn't want to throw everything at me all at once, but each day was different. I never did the exact same thing every day. There's a lot of variation of those tasks that I mentioned, and it was a blast just having a lot of different responsibilities that kept the hours going by as quick as possible. So the best aspect of my job, I would say, is being able to drive a variety of different cars. Like I said, I wanted to be a race car driver when I was growing up. Grew up in a racing family, but having the opportunity to drive a bunch of brand new cars, a bunch of sports cars, convertibles, some SUVs, obviously within the limits of the law. I was no race car driver for Enterprise, but being able to have this opportunity to see a bunch of brand new cars was a blast. I really enjoyed a little bit of alone time picking up vehicles. It was kind of just a break from the office setting, which was nice. So I would say that was the best aspect of the job. And in terms of employment after college, honestly going into this internship, I thought I was going to be working with Enterprise after graduation. And that was because I had been contacting Enterprise beforehand, before my senior year, just trying to be proactive, job searching. And I had been in contact with a recruiter up in Boston for a job as a management trainee. And so Enterprise kind of hires from within. So basically the internship goes into the management trainee. And then from there you take your grill test, which is basically certification to become a manager's assistant. And so I thought I was going to go straight into the management trainee, and then I was looking for internships here in Columbia, found this internship, and contacted my recruiter up in Boston, and she told me that this was a great opportunity to get my foot in the door and kind of get ahead of the curve, meaning that if I were to become a manager trainee after this internship, I would basically be 3 months ahead. So this was a great opportunity for me. It was definitely what I was looking for. And I liked everything I was hearing about the company. And even about a month into the internship, I was honestly dead set on working for Enterprise after graduation. I knew it was going to be a fun time. I knew it was going to be a job that I could be good at, knowing that I've already spent 3 months getting the lay of the land, learning the ins and outs of the company. So up until probably about a month ago, I was thinking that I was going to be moving up to Boston, working for Enterprise, just because of everything that I liked about it. Because to be honest, there was maybe a few things I disliked about it, but none of it was really challenging for me. And then I was approached by another company that was closer to home, closer to my family, had a lot of similarities with the Enterprise job, a little bit more freedom and opportunity. So ultimately I decided I really needed to sit down, weigh the pros and cons of these two jobs, and ultimately I decided to take this other job, which is the position of Director of Sales and Marketing with a private transportation company in Richmond, Virginia. And ultimately that deciding factor was being closer to my family and having that freedom. So I am going to miss my time with Enterprise. I don't regret it one bit of it. I enjoyed it all. No ill words to speak on Enterprise, but I will take a lot of these things that I've learned in this internship and bring it with me into the professional work environment. That being said, to kind of elaborate on some rewarding experience that I've had with Enterprise, the first really standing out to me being this one interaction I had with a customer who had her car at a body shop in Georgia. And when this is the case, having a body shop out of state, one we typically do not work with, we do need to see some verifications of a current address here in Columbia. And of course she wasn't aware that she needed those, so she didn't have them with her. It was a whole long process trying to figure out what we can do for her. And at the end of the day, she came back. She had left and came back after hours. We closed at 6 o'clock, and I think she came in around 6:05 or 6:10. And I knew this had been such a long process for her, quite the headache. So I was happy to help her, even though we were technically closed. So basically what happened, we were able to get her into a vehicle. And on top of that, I was able to sell her on some protections that we have to offer. So my sales pitch that I had formulated and had been really reaping the rewards of, it worked, and I was able to protect her in the vehicle. And just to be able to get that little extra win in my book was just a big confidence boost for me, because I know this lady had been having not quite the best experience with us. But at the end of the day, we were able to help her out, and she was able to help us out. So that was a really big, rewarding experience for me. Second being going back on this sales pitch. It was really important for me and kind of my mentality going into work every day to have a good working sales pitch, not one that just feels like I'm trying to sell to people just to sell to people. I want people to know that they're protected in a vehicle. I want to be informative, and that's honestly what it came down to. I went from having a persuasive sales pitch that really wasn't working, because I'm not quite that pushy person that I needed to be, to more informative, swaying pitch. And I kind of attacked it as, this is what we have to offer, this is what it can do for you, it's totally optional, stuff like that. And that is what started working for me, and coming into work with a sales pitch that I was confident in, I knew how to pitch, just made work so much more fun, so much more stress-free. And that was another really big rewarding experience for me. Just once it started clicking, once those few days that I had switched over to a new sales pitch, once it started clicking, it was awesome. Another one was just being flexible. There's a lot of times when I was kind of given a task and not a lot of time to do it. One specifically, I had to take care of a customer who was trying to be gone in, I can't remember, it was maybe like 10 minutes. And I was still relatively new with this sales pitch, and trying to get this person in the car as quick as possible. We gave her some options, and she ended up going with a minivan, and she had a car in the shop. And I was able to upgrade her into an SUV, so we got that difference per day charge. And then she also got the damage waiver, the supplemental liability protection, and then our roadside protection. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I do pride that on having a great sales pitch and being a great people person, because I think we both saw that interaction as a person to a person and not a business to a customer. So I was really proud of the way that I was able to kind of fact find and figure out why she's renting from us, what her needs are, what she's used to driving, stuff like that. So I kind of made it a good conversation style in a good timely manner. So I was really proud of that customer interaction specifically, and I'll probably remember that for years to come. So on the flip side, 3 significant challenges that I faced during my internship. One was definitely that transition to a good sales pitch, because it was very easy for me in those first few weeks to pitch something to a customer. They say no, and I kind of just shrug it off and move on. So just not being pushy and confident in my sales pitch really was hurting my performance at work. And it was making me kind of, not dread coming in, but I was a little bit more tense, a little bit more anxious coming in, knowing that I probably wasn't going to have the best sales day today. And then once I overcame that challenge, got that new sales pitch, it was a world of difference for me. And next, my second biggest challenge was when I was answering the telephones for customers. And I would say this because when you don't have a direct answer for a question right in front of you, or you don't know what a customer is inquiring about when you pick up the phone, it's really hard to figure out that answer, especially when you're new, just because let's say I'm calling a customer, I know exactly what I'm going to say, I know exactly the purpose of the call. So on the flip side, when you're the one that needs to do a little bit of research, figure out how you can help this customer, what you can do for them, it takes a little bit more time, and it's a little bit more stressful, just because, like I said, you may not know exactly what they're calling about, and maybe you don't know the answer right away. So there's a lot of pressure trying to handle these conversations in a timely manner and satisfy the customer's needs. Third, I'd say another big challenge for me, in the beginning especially, was asking questions. And this goes for any internship. This is another tip that I would offer to anyone considering an internship or any job in general. I was definitely afraid of asking questions, especially if I knew they had already been answered in the past, just because I didn't want to mess up, I didn't want to inconvenience my coworkers. But at the end of the day, like I said before, they are your teammates, they're there to help you succeed, and at the same time, everyone was a beginner once. So everyone knows what you're going through, and everyone wants to see you succeed. So that is another big tip for me. And 3 key insights going forward that I learned from this internship was, 1, your coworkers are your best friends. Work is so much more enjoyable, so much more fun when you have a great relationship with your coworkers. And I was very fortunate to have a lot of coworkers that were not around my age, but mid to late 20s, and they were in my shoes not too long ago. So they know what I'm going through. Super, super helpful. Another key insight for me was that the professional workplace, specifically this retail environment, is very, very fast-paced, and it's easy to fall behind. So good time management and organization is critical. I would say we had an incident where we came and got audited by an internal auditor for enterprise, and they basically told us that our branch was a disaster, just unorganized, dirty, and I hadn't noticed it before, but once we spent some time reorganizing and cleaning, it was a world of difference. So really stressing the importance of organization in the workplace is very important because you can be so much more efficient. Third, I would say your interactions that you have with customers really reflect how you are as a person and how you conduct your conversations. So if you see yourself as kind of a figure of authority, it won't work. You really have to treat these customers like they're your peers. Obviously, you don't want to talk down to them, but also at the same time, you don't want to put them on a pedestal. There's a lot of instances where customers have this idea in their head where the customer is always right. And in a retail environment, you're always taught this, which I really don't agree with. To a certain extent, you want to treat the customer with the highest respect, but you could potentially be losing the company money. You could be losing some self-respect and some respect from your coworkers if you're just walked all over by these customers. So you really want to treat the customer as you would treat yourself in ways that, like I said, don't talk down to them, don't put them on a pedestal, but put yourself in their shoes as if you were, in my case, renting a car. And I think working in a retail environment, having this idea of what retail employees go through, kind of in my situation, if I were a customer, I would know how to treat an employee. So there's a lot of trade-off between that.